the ecosystem, and they still don't allow unplanned development.
Priorities, if these resources are first available for residents, then we can extend it to tourists. So so we can't displace one over the other just because.
It's handling on prosperity.
Yeah. So it has to be worked.
So when the locals are prosperous, they can afford to do it. But if you have
here the problem is that in every society, every urban society, there is a politician and there is a mafia.
Always.
In Goa, the mafia itself has become the politician.
True.
When mafia becomes a politician, he deals with politics the mafia way. And that's why he tries to find a shortcut to everything. And when he tries to find a shortcut to everything, he destroys whatever comes in his way. So there is no value for environment. I'll give you two examples. There is a huge dry dock which is operating in Diwar Island illegally, completely illegally. Next, further if you go towards Pirgaon side, Pirgaon-Bicholim side, towards Sarmanas, there is another dockyard which is operating completely illegally by breaking the ban, by destroying the sluice gate, by destroying the khazans which were behind it, and it is functioning beautifully and earning a lot of profit. And I can see two Mercedes, a black and a white, which roam around in my area. To my eyes, both look black. And this is how the things are happening. Ultimately, from the person who gives a vent to his toilet directly into the river, to the person who is breaking the ban and building his shipbuilding factory over it, for me, both are criminals. Ultimately, at the end of the day, both are criminals because they are murdering my mother. When we move further, the number of illegal encroachments over both sides of the river where mangroves should be there, houses have been built. Mangroves, Father Bismarck always used to say, are the nurseries, are the breeding grounds of the fish and of the aquatic life. If you destroy mangroves, where will the fishes come from? And if there are no fishes in the river, what quality of river you are having, ultimately? And when such developments are happening, I really felt a pain in my heart. I felt like crying when I moved my boat from Sant Estevam for the first time and moved towards Panjim. It gave me completely different perspective of the road which I travel every day by scooter or by car. When you see that the houses which you see from the front, from behind how ugly and dirty they are and what dirty business they are doing into the river, it makes one surprised. Ultimately, everything has got a life. Our rivers, however mighty they are, however powerful they are, however strong tidal current they bear, ultimately they are also life-bearing entities and they have got an end. So let's not push our rivers to the end, let's not push them to the wall, and let's not destroy them the way they are getting destroyed. The same river Mandovi, which is considered as mother in Diwar and Sant Estevam, by the time it comes to Panjim, it becomes what? I don't want to use what it becomes. The word. We have got no respect for those elements which have sustained us, which have nurtured us, which have given us life. Casinos, let me talk about casinos. When I came across the river for the first time, literally, very much literally, when I came near the Kampal Creek, the tide was towards low, I was literally floating into human excrement. That's how what is happening with casinos.
Yeah, we have elections now in Panjim, so you can make that a term for the election, to get this river into a sensible value that it should be.
So it's not sensible like what we are doing with rivers. Completely not acceptable. No country or no civilized person or no civilization in the world will do this to the rivers the way which we are treating it.
Considering we are such an educated
The
society.
pollution reports are out. The Goa State Pollution Control Board has put out the figures. They are alarming. Yeah. So first we have to think about just being able to live in a livable environment. Then tourism, livelihood, everything has to come. It's red alert situation. It's not like ordinary. It's just we have to first protect, conserve the environment we live in. It's
I just want to add here that I conducted a little workshop to showcase the khazans recently for this Isola, the Isola conference. It was landscape architects. And they were participants from all across the country. So they were landscape architects and other professionals who had come. And after we finished the walk and everything, we saw the salt pans, we saw the manas and all the other, troughs where there's aquaculture going on. And then they were asked to, put down on paper what they understood and the way forward. So there was one group, okay, of participants that had drawn like a Feni bottle, okay, and had drawn the khazans in their own, with their own understanding. And they said that moving forward, you know, these khazans are like a khazana. They're like a treasure. And because of and there are salt pans. So this salt should be packaged in the same Feni bottle, you know, and sold to tourists, you know, in a different, with a different sort of, as a different brand. That would be brand Goa. That would be the true brand for Goa. Yeah.
I think we're really lucky in that sense because Goa has a lot of unique ecosystems. In fact, today being World Crocodile Day, it's really interesting to note that the original crocodiles that we have in Goa are all freshwater crocodiles. But in about 1510, Adil Shah actually brought crocodiles into the Kumbhajua Canal, and they've evolved over those years to live in estuarine conditions, and they're very rare. You only find this population in Goa and in Kutch. And that's all. These are the only two populations you find in the whole of the country. And so we don't really value these.
Humans.
And they don't attack.
You can swim with them.
Yes.
Every time I take my boat out,
I
I
wouldn't
see
like
two
to
crocodiles.
prove that. But
And those two crocodiles, they are so docile. Like they are like puppies to me. They simply, like, I can see them like all the time basking in the sun and not at all
They're
getting
the long
disturbed.
snouts.
Yeah.
They're vegetarians. So we've been taking tourists on the backwaters for 25 years now, showing them crocodiles in Kumbhajua. You sometimes see them walking around the fields on dry land.
Also, I think along Kumbhajua, there's a tradition in one of the villages where they have this crocodile worship called Mange Thapni. And they make an effigy of the Chikol Mati and they actually venerate it as a protector, you know.
yeah, so these are the valuable things that we have. Then I suppose, like you said, we need to appreciate them and then add that into our tourism and our planning. And
This is the brand which
should
Talula
know.
is talking about.
Absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
like, if you can value that and make that the brand rather than, like, you know, from the airport onwards, you start seeing casinos.
Yeah.
You know, give them this place, but, like, you know, what does the image you get? I mean, what is the image
Yeah.
you get when you land, you know?
Yeah,
That, like, you know, it's only, like, you know, alcohol sponsors in casinos.
I think they should just stop all these casino boats and have casinos on land. You know, it's like making a fool of yourself.
Exactly.
You know, it's easier to build a bridge from the main jetty to the boat and walk across than go through all this drama of diesel and petrol falling in the water and dirtying environment. Just create a whole big zone and make 25 casinos and make it a mini Macau and maintain sustainable environment, cleansing, trees, garbage collection, do it really nicely. Instead of fooling yourselves and the public and the people.
Use they could
This
find
is
out
only
their
damage to the state. If you're doing something, do it properly. And do it without trying to find a loophole which is actually puncturing something and allowing water to come into the ship to ultimately sink.
They're not even properly offshore. They're just like off.
Just allow it on the mainland, and that's what Mr. Parikar said. He also said about sound pollution. He said, instead of having the cacophony of sounds all through the day up till 10 o'clock, everyone going crazy because their timelines, create a zone for tourism where you can have music late, where people who buy places, they know that there's going to be music here like you have anywhere else in the world. And do these things to promote tourism, then people will not do it in areas where residential places are and spoil the environment over there. You know?
I think it's a lot bigger though than just the casinos when it comes to the rivers, because a lot of our cities don't have proper sewage systems. The hotels are all spewing their sewage into the sea. The E. coli content in the ocean is so high, you really would not want to be swimming in there even. So I think Goa being so lucky with all its water resources, I think we need to understand, you know, what value they are, like our flood protection systems. All the creeks in Panjim actually protect us from any rise in sea level, and how it adds value to the city as well with all its walkways and its waterways alongside. And I think that if, like you said, we have a panel where people collaborate and we get maybe the general public to also get understand their vision for how our waterways should be, then I feel it would be something nice that people in Goa like leave some sort of heritage of our waterways that have been conserved for centuries, and that we work towards conserving them for the future, because really, I mean, they are our lifelines. I mean, we'd like to deny or we could be oblivious to it, but our waterways are really the only systems that will sustain our cities in the long run. So I'd like to open up any questions.
I think this is the very right time for you to have said this, and right time for us to take action, because now there's a lot of central funds coming in to develop our waterways. That's when actually you can either do it the way it should be done or do it badly. So I think this is the perfect timing to actually create the awareness, to have a body, to have a committee, to make sure that this spend is not done politically but environmentally, with development balanced with intelligence. If intelligence is mixed with development and sustainable tourism, it will all work, otherwise it's a disaster.
Definitely. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I think the main issue is awareness among the general populace. So, as they always say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I think that the focus should be on the children, to teach the children the importance of the river, the importance of all the water, like you said, treat it as their mother. And if the children themselves have that awareness, and they'll grow up to conserving, and then you can have all your cooperatives and ultimately end up with better water.
I think that's a really valid point, definitely. I think that we don't have a very strong environmental science module in our textbooks either. No. So a lot of the kids have this really big disconnect from their water bodies. A lot of kids don't even swim, so to get them to get involved in water system is kind of risky. So I feel like if kids are taught how to swim, they're taught how to engage with their water systems, they're taught to value it. Because the minute you go out on a boat, or if you go out swimming and you see the gunk and the filth and the garbage in the water bodies, you're going to suddenly say, okay, fine, I need to do something about this because, you know, this is just not right. So yeah, I completely agree. That's definitely the best way to start. What about your activities of taking your boat out?
Okay, basically just 1 month ago, in the month of May, we 10 people, 10 supporters and followers of Father Bismarck, we got together and we launched a boat by the name Bismarck the Unsinkable. It is having a 3.5 horsepower engine and a simple canoe, 20 feet long canoe, having a sitting capacity of 4 people. And the purpose of this canoe was to take individuals around the islands, around Saint Estevam, around Diwad, around Vashi, around Sudan, and in backwaters all the way towards Mapsa, as far as Mapsa. Now, when children especially, and why just children, even when the adults are in the boat, and when we show them actually that how fish breed, how crabs breed, how crocodiles survive in that environment, what are the different fishes which are in the water, when that interest is inculcated into the minds of people, people will automatically start respecting the rivers. And that will be the moment when they come to realize that whatever nonsense they had been doing along with the rivers all these days or all these years, how criminal it was and what are the reasons for it to be stopped. I think I should say that all those people who are dumping waste and sewage into the river, as a punishment they should be sent to my boat so that I can give them a round and educate them about the ecology of the river. That would be the best way. Change from inside.
Also, I think awareness needs to be created that, you know, see about not just the sewage, but also the garbage. So all the garbage that we are throwing in is going out at sea. And the plastic that is going out at sea is, you know, I don't know whether you've heard of this 5 gyres. So the ocean currents are actually collecting all that garbage. And earlier I had thought that, you know, it's only polluting the water. But apparently there's also plastic dust, which is getting created above the surface of the water. So that again has carcinogens and, you know, toxic chemicals. And what is in the water is creating plastic soup, and eventually through fish it is coming back to us. So both in fish and birds, you know, they've found plastic pellets, and that is very serious. So maybe some sort of awareness where people see how in the rain, see when you go to the beach, every beach you will find the litter that you threw out earlier in the year. So it's a similar phenomena, and now with climate resilience, I think we need to be more and more aware of what is going to come back to us. Yeah.
I'd like to add on to what you're saying. There's so much of misinformation out there. Like say for example the Mopa airport, you will have people who speak for it and you have people who speak against it. If you're looking at the Terracol, say, you know, the golf course, so you'll have a whole lot of, again, you know, for's and against, whether it's the widening of some particular road. So when people look at it, they are kind of, you know, somehow swayed towards, depending on whether they're registered or not, so they sway either towards one end or the other. So quite often, and I should say especially in the last few years, there's so much of misinformation out there that I think when you're talking about, you know, putting information out there, I think it has to come from unbiased sources. Right. It has to stand up. The facts have to stand up and be out there where people can look at it and then take a call on whether they want to support it or not. Like right now we're looking at this whole coal hub thing, and I think even when they had the meeting in Vasco, they hardly got any turnout as such. So I think that's another thing. People tend to sit back. There's a whole lot of armchair philosophy. There's a whole lot of fights on Facebook, which take place. So I think we have to, debates like this would help, but I think it has to go beyond that.
I agree, because right now we live in a generation where, the unethical is becoming ethical just because everybody is following it. Like everybody is corrupt, so they say this is the done thing. Nobody is aware of the law. Actually, law has teeth. But when a policeman comes to you and says that no, it is to be done this way, you get confused. So I think dissemination of information of laws needs to reach out to the people, and I think the best way is through schools. If we can get to influence children in the right way, I think then the right information will go out.
And I think also we need to value our scientific institutions, because we have a lot of institutions with a lot of people doing massive amounts of work, and the data that's coming out somehow is not getting to people. We need to actually help people understand, keep up to date with what's happening. Like climate change is a very real phenomenon, but there are still a lot of people that will disagree with the fact that it exists.
And one of my biggest fears is whether the textbooks in Goa also are going to be changed.
Right.
So is it going to go from scientific to, in the past 5,000 years ago we were like this?
Yeah. It has to be very relevant also to today's, yes.
Yeah, in fact, just like what panelists put it on, he's very right in saying, that bureaucracy, they don't know what they are doing. The one department does not understand what the other department is. Quality of coordination. I just cite two examples. One is in Chikalim there was a overbridge that was being repaired. Okay, the PWD did their work. The debris was all falling down there, blocking the waterway now. Okay, people deciding they were apprehensive now that during the rains it will flood, it will stop the flow of the water. So when they went to complain, they said you want to go to the waterways or the navigation department to get that removed. Okay, so one department does it, the other department does not take the onus of clearing it or do not communicate to the other. Another example is like the tourism department before the IFI, they had a big budget to promote Goa outside the state. They went about promoting it. They had some shows, road shows in the malls and all over the country. Okay, but just 3 or 4 months later, IFI was coming in. Now, if these two departments had coordinated, the same budget of fund could have been used to, promote it in a better manner, which IFI could have been benefited, the tourism in Goa could have been benefited.
Definitely.
But they have our budget, we will do it our way. They have their budget, we will do their way. So, the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing is leading to, waste of resources and funds.
Yeah, and Goa being such a small state and we being so connected, actually Goa could be such a great example for other places in the rest of the country.
So I think again here we can make a point, that for everything collaboration is critical, and collaboration with everybody. So just like how departments can collaborate to bring fruition to all their plans, you have to give a little, take a little, it should be like that. And even with communities, see, the best models are the ones which are collaborative, not where one says, I know better, or somebody else knows better.
So just the point about that education thing is like, keep textbook aside for a while and try and visit these places. Talula facilitates lots of that. She's always taking the classroom out of the class. It's never in the room. The class is also always outside. And so like we are working with children in Kamrabhat, and tragically, like, while we cleaned all the floating debris from the pond area they have there, we cleaned everything from the land adjoining the place, creating a garden. And then the rain started, and within a week the whole water from green became first muddy and then became black. And the fish which they were catching were floating dead. There was turtles, there were snakes, there was this massive fish dying there. They don't need a textbook to explain to them what horror has just happened. It is their play area. We have started boating there. Now we are asking them to not even venture near the water because it's an awful smell, and you don't need any medical expert to tell you how harmful it can it can be to your health.
My point was the textbooks we have today are not teaching what they should be teaching.
Yeah, but they're limited and syllabus,
That's
you know.
what they're
Yeah,
limited. So
yeah.
what we need to do is have a whole lot of experience.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is that
Yeah.
today education in India is all about getting those grades.
Yeah.
So here's your textbook, here's your syllabus, and we do not move, out of that. So that is the main problem. With
Correct.
education.
I know it's difficult, but like
Goa is
wherever
like
there is scope to get,
Goa is a small state.
Yeah.
We can be a model state.
Exactly.
So we can, like in Delhi, in fact, they started coming out. The AAP government has come out with quite a few measures now, trying to change certain things in the education system.
Yeah.
We can do that so much.
So don't worry. Actually, we have begun the process. You can consider that this is our process. We've already started, and hopefully we will influence policy to make it mandatory for students to get out of the classroom.
I invite you to come to my boat along with your students.
Portugal, and to be honest, I'm a little bit in shock. It's my first time in India, and I know already other countries from Europe and Cape Green, so I was like, what I was going to find in here. And to be honest, listening to all of you speaking about this environment concern, that it's really much deeper and important than we are trying to speak in here. I think, yes, we have to start for the children, but not only with them, because from my point of view, I see that adults live in this pollution waters and polluted waters and beaches and everything, and for them it's normal. And so, if the adults don't give the example, the kids can learn at school, and probably they can hear, oh, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. But then they come home, and their own parents, their own family, it's behaving themselves in other ways. So I think it's much deeper than we are trying to realize, to see
Take a few
here.
generations to correct.
There are a few generations that are here now living, and they must understand, they must realize that their own behavior is not correct.
I completely agree with her, and it is spot on, because if we as adults don't set a good example, what do we hope for children? And there is a term, which Bittu Sehgal is an environmentalist, he coined this term called intergenerational colonization. And this is what we as adults are doing. We are taking away from 4 generations their resources, and we're not respecting. And children are like sponges. Whatever you do, good or bad, they are going to absorb.
Yeah, but it's easier to teach even the parents through children because of schools. To educate the adults today is very difficult. So the kids today are telling their parents. So it has to be part of our syllabus. Environment and tourism needs to be put into the syllabus in Goa schools, because these are our lifeline. We still have environment to preserve. Some states of India, unfortunately, don't even have that. So we might as well preserve what is there, make it a part of our syllabus, make tourism a part of our syllabus. Let the taxi driver's son come and tell his daddy you're behaving stupid. That's what.
So that's what we are doing in Goa. I mean, we are trying to work with school children so that the children can influence the adults, because it is otherwise seems to be very difficult right now. Yeah.
I think I'm very grateful for everyone for joining me on this panel today, because it means that talking about it is a start, and everybody here has also been doing a lot of work, so that's also something that's important. And I'd really like to thank Talula as well as all of you here, and we should just try and continue to do the work that we do and engage more people.
Get involved in your local area, start doing work.
Yeah.
Make groups.
शिवायानि chỉ có một điều lẽ ta ô lối tu đi ở trên hoa mô cảm cả cuối châu áo sang biết ta so bị bao xa
Ostani, dukani, sangatan baburle Bhavani, boinani, goyamanle Sogle dormek salele Tiag koktale, goche mathe Paso jibit betoile Alza cercantul aviso aizo Nona c'ha pusto calcivo urtolo Urwozani am candello Sobirgao alzo Urgani am c'ha sambar Dolia puro Orgozzata goici Anche son sarà capuro bai dici
Ani cu so voskaj zoshi goi karaji
Citna su forza di puta duoci Deso polo Noi caragmana nuleka Kedeba Sogle moganu dieta Dondara
Cada un poro di soglie Vom baile a terra Goshi ospita e salva